At my father's funeral, the priest asked, should we mention his time in federal prison? I stared at Father McKenna in complete shock. Federal prison? My dad had been a quiet accountant who worked for the same insurance company for 30 years. The most rebellious thing I'd ever seen him do was drive 5 miles over the speed limit. I'm sorry, Father, but I think you have my dad confused with someone else, I said, my voice barely steady. David Sullivan was never in prison. He worked at Midwest Insurance his entire career. Father McKenna pulled me into his office behind the chapel and locked the door. His hands were shaking as he opened a thick file folder. Michael, your father confessed to me in 1987. He showed me these. He spread out yellowed newspaper clippings across his desk. The headlines made my blood freeze. Sunday drivers strike again. 4th bank robbery in 2 months. FBI seeks armed robbery gang. 2.3 million stolen across 3 states. Bank robber David Sullivan sentenced to 12 years federal prison. The black and white mugshot staring back at me was unmistakably my father, but 20 years younger with longer hair and cold, dead eyes I'd never seen before. The man in that photo looked capable of violence in ways that made me feel sick. This is impossible, I whispered, but even as I said it, pieces were clicking together. Dad's strange reluctance to talk about his past. The way he'd changed the subject whenever I asked about his 20s. How he never kept photo albums from before 1986. Your father was the leader of a gang called the Sunday Drivers, Father McKenna continued, his voice heavy. They robbed 17 banks between 1978 and 1984. The FBI classified them as extremely dangerous because they used military-style tactics and threatened to kill hostages if their demands weren't met. 17 banks, military tactics, threats to kill people. This wasn't some desperate kid making one bad decision. This was a professional criminal who terrorized innocent people for 6 years. Father, the funeral starts in 15 minutes. There are 200 people out there who think they're mourning a pillar of the community. My voice was rising despite my efforts to stay calm. What am I supposed to do with this information? That's why I'm asking about the eulogy. Some of those people know Michael. Harold Midwest knew when he hired your father. Chief of Police Kowalski knew. He was a young officer when your dad was arrested. Your father's parole officer became a family friend. This secret has been an open secret for decades. The room was spinning. Everyone knew except me. My own father's criminal past was common knowledge in our small town, but I'd been living in ignorant bliss for 35 years. How many people did he hurt? I asked, dreading the answer. Father McKenna pulled out a manila envelope marked Victim Statements, Confidential. 3 bank employees were hospitalized. 1 security guard was shot in the leg. A pregnant teller miscarried from the trauma of being held at gunpoint for 40 minutes during the longest robbery. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. The man who had read me bedtime stories and taught me about right and wrong had caused a woman to lose her baby. How was I supposed to reconcile that with the father who'd never even raised his voice at me? When I came back, Father McKenna was holding a different folder. But Michael, you need to understand what happened next. Your father didn't just serve his time. He became a completely different person. I don't want to hear about redemption right now, Father. I need to know what else you're hiding from me. Father McKenna's expression darkened. There's more. Your father wasn't just a bank robber. He was the mastermind behind a larger criminal enterprise. The Sunday Drivers were a front for money laundering, weapons trafficking, and contract enforcement for organized crime families in Chicago. Contract enforcement. That was a euphemism for violence, possibly murder. Are you telling me my father was a hitman? I'm telling you that the man who raised you had blood on his hands from his previous life. But Michael, he spent 40 years trying to wash that blood away. The funeral home door opened and my wife Sarah appeared, looking frantic. Michael, people are asking where you are. The service is supposed to start now. I looked at Father McKenna helplessly. What do I tell them? Full story on my channel and linked below.